It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
They're closing churches. There's a shortage of priests. And for those of us who are Catholic or Protestant or Jewish, we wonder why. Particularly, the vocations. How do we get more people in vocations? We hope to have one person today who is going to be able to help us in vocations. We're going to talk to Daniel Synoski. Now, who is Daniel Synoski? Daniel has been a great young man who has done a lot of great things, and he got a call, and the call was from, I guess, Jesus, to go into a vocation. And I think it's very interesting that we have young people who are interested in vocations, because we hear it all the time. Why do they shut this? Why do we need priests? So let me welcome you, Daniel, on the show. It's nice to see you again.
Thanks, Sam.
I always like you. I liked you from day one when I met you. You come from a great family, and I knew you were going to be a priest. I didn't know you were going to go on to be a Franciscan, but however, so tell me. We talk about, I just mentioned about it's a shame that we have to close churches down, and unfortunately, 30% of the Catholics are going to Mass, which is sad, okay? But that's another story. But okay, let's talk about you, okay? How do you, tell me a little bit about yourself, your college, your high school, college, and then what happened where you got the call.
Yeah, so I was always active in my faith from high school, involved in retreats and stuff in the Diocese of Scranton and in my parish at St. John Bosco in Cunningham. And then I went off to college at Drexel University. And I had thought about being a priest before I went to college a little bit, but didn't go too far with it. So I went off to Drexel, and I was studying mechanical and nuclear engineering down there. And I stayed involved with the faith. I was an active part of the Catholic Center there, active part of different ministries that go on in Philadelphia, homeless ministry and some other stuff at Drexel's campus. And the deeper I got into my prayer life, as I started to spend more time in silence with the Lord, I felt Him calling me out to live a religious life, to discern a religious vocation. As
a young guy in college, okay, it's like people say, well, you got to have your college life and all this stuff. How did other people, your peers, your friends, how did they react to you being involved in your religion? Okay, not that I'm saying that a lot of college students do not practice their religion, but unfortunately, they, when they're in high school and they're with their parents, or they go to church, or they go to whatever, and then they get to college, and all of a sudden they know more than everybody, and God isn't a part of their lives. Okay, did you see any of that with your friends, and how did they look at you? Did they look at you? This is a weirdo. Okay, I'm trying to say.
Maybe not too much. I think at first when I got to college, my faith was kind of boxed in on Sundays. I was going to Mass on Sundays, and I was active at the Catholic Center on Sundays, but the rest of the week I was living a different life. I was living the college life. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, it wasn't until maybe the second year of college I started to change that. I started to deepen that relationship and make it the center of my life at college. And as I did that, circles of friends changed, and the people that I spent my time with changed, but I wouldn't say that it was in any kind of like judgmental or persecuting way.
I know that. I'm trying to say that I admire people like you, okay? When I went to college, we still went to church every Sunday, okay? But the point is, and we're all sinners, there's no question about that. But what today, you want to encourage more people, because as I said, 30 to 33% of the Catholics in the United States are only going to church, okay, which is sad, okay. So now, how did you get people say, well, we got the call, okay? It's not like hello, this is Jesus calling Daniel, Daniel, I want you to be a Franciscan, okay? So, number one, how did you feel you got the call, and then why did you decide to go into the Franciscan friars?
I would say that the primary answer to the first question, how did I get the call, would be just in prayer, in silence with the Lord, before the sacrament in adoration, asking, Lord, what would you have me do with my life? And the more time I spent in prayer like that, the more I realized that I I was made to be spending a lot of time in prayer with the Lord, and that's sort of what led me to the consecrated religious life. The Franciscans, I would say that question came through the ministry that I was involved with at Drexel. I was part of a homeless outreach ministry in Philadelphia. We would go out into Center City and spend time with the homeless and just build relationships with them, share our time with them, share ourselves with them. And the more time I spent with the poor, I started to feel the reason that Jesus himself spent so much time with the poor, and I felt a desire to do that with the rest of my life, and that was sort of the pull to the Franciscans.
So this, so the journey here, you were telling me about this journey, and folks, if you just tuned in, I'm talking to Daniel Synoski. He is an aspirant, a Labouré aspirant, and we're going to talk about the Labouré Society. And so instead of becoming or looking at a diocesan priest, okay, such as Father Grippy, Father Rick, you decided to be a Franciscan because of working with the poor, okay? And so what is the process here now, Daniel, okay, versus being a diocesan priest? What do you do now? You're with the Labouré Society.
Yeah.
First of all, what's the Labouré Society?
So Labouré Society is sort of the first step in this process, and it's what is going to allow me to begin the formal process with the Franciscans. So I can't enter the religious community while I have debt. And so because I was just studying at Drexel University, I took on some student loans to pay for that education. And I can't enter the Franciscans until I alleviate that student debt.
And why? Tell the viewers, why is that?
Yeah, so religious communities in the church take a vow of poverty.
Right.
And so as a Franciscan, I won't be making any money, and all of the goods and livelihood that we have is from divine providence and from the donations of our friends. And so because I won't be making any money or have an income, I wouldn't be able to pay those loans back. So I have to take care of them so that I'm free to enter that life and to discern that vocation.
All right. So there's many other young men like you that are in the same situation, okay?
Men and women.
And folks, we're going to tell you how we can help Daniel in a moment. But all right, so step us through the process here, because I couldn't believe, I know how old I am, and I'm thinking, well, by the time Dan becomes a full friar, am I going to be around? Okay, so tell me why the process here.
Sure. So for me, I'll move up in August 15th to the Bronx, and I'll spend a year as a missionary with the friars. And that gives me some more time to alleviate the student debt before I start the official formation process. From there, I'll have about 5 to 6 years of formation as a Franciscan to become a friar. Spend 2 years in formation, learning what the life is like and how to live as a brother, how to be poor, how to serve the poor, how to live with the poor. And I've got about 5 years as a temporary professed friar then. From there, I'll take a perpetual vow, which is the mark of living as a Franciscan for the rest of my life. And from there, I can enter seminary to study to be an ordained priest. And that'll take about another 4 years.
Wow.
So it's about a 10-year or so road, plus however long it takes me to alleviate the student debt. And so Labouré comes in as the way to make me able to start that road faster.
Okay. So, folks, to help Daniel out, we're going to put a website up there, Daniels at LabourAspirant.org. The phone number, if you want to give Dan a call, 570-436-1426. I have a check here from my wife and I that we're going to give to donate to Dan. So Dan, say you raise, to pay your debt. What happens if throughout this journey that you're going to go into that you decide, well, really this isn't what I need, okay? So all the people who made donations to help Daniel Synoski, because it says right here, I would like to, for your name, okay? What happens then to the thousands of dollars that you raised?
Sure. So that's the beauty of working with the Labouré Society, and instead of just doing this on my own, is that every donation to the Labouré Society is going to be made in my honor, but it's going to be a donation to vocations in the Catholic Church, and that's vocations to the priesthood, to religious life for men and for women. And so if I were to discern out of my community and find a call elsewhere, the money that I raise is going to go ahead and it's going to support other vocations in the church. I'm working alongside right now 10 other Labouré aspirants, and we're all working to overcome the student debt obstacle together. So if I discern out the money that I raise is going to go and always support vocations in the church.
So help other people who aspire.
Right.
Okay. I guess I would feel that because we're such need in vocations, I would hope that there would be opportunities where people like you, because we lose about 40%. Is that around the number? Or how many young men cannot make that, and they cannot raise the money to pay their funds? How many? Is that a 40% factor?
Yeah. So about every year, there's about 10,000 Americans who are discerning a religious vocation, and that's men to the priesthood or women to religious life as well. And of that 10,000, about 42% every year is unable to answer that call because they have student loans.
How old are you?
22 years old.
Okay, you're 22 years old. What do you tell our viewing audience about why it's so important to have a faith like you have, okay? And what do you tell them?
Faith gives life hope, it gives life meaning and purpose, and we move forward knowing that with faith we can live a life that is entirely for other. We live for others. We live for the people around us. We live for Christ, and we live then essentially for a life with the Lord in heaven. And so having faith in that reality, having faith in what it is to be Christian, gives us hope for the world that we live in today and for the world that we live for in the next life.
Now, is the beard a part of the? I mean, all Franciscans, must they wear a beard?
The beard is encouraged. Yeah, the word encouraged.
Why encouraged?
It reminds us, I think, of the simplicity of the life that we live. That vow of poverty is important, and not having to deal with the sort of ideas of worldly image, and also the work of shaving every day. It's a reversion to the simplicity of that lifestyle. Reminds us of the simple life that we live.
So in the Franciscans, I mean, I had an opportunity of interviewing not Father Pio, but the Franciscan I mentioned that received communion from Saint Father Pio. I can't think if we play it every Sunday in our the show, but you know which one I was talking. You told me he passed away in the last year or two.
Yes, yeah, Father Andrew.
Father who?
Andrew.
And he was on ESPN.
EWTN.
EWTN?
Yes.
Yeah, and I had, I interviewed him. We play it every Sunday. I was shocked to hear, I know he was sick the day I was interviewing him at the Catholic Men's Conference. Bishop Timlin was there, who was a great guy. All I could tell you, Dan, is that I wish you the best. You know, I just knew you were going to be a priest when I met you. Your enthusiasm, which is great, and I hope it's contagious. You know, you're going to do well. Folks, to help Dan Synoski out, the money goes in, okay, and if Dan decides not to, another young man is able to, become a Franciscan. It's a 10, 11-year process. You can help Dan out by making any kind of donation. I'm giving him, my wife and I, Debbie, are giving him $100 to start off, and hopefully anything, 5, 10, 20, whatever it may, just helping a young man achieve a vocation that we need so desperately in the country. It's 570-436-1426 or Daniels at laboreaspirant.org. Dan, I could only wish you the best.
Thank you.
I always enjoy seeing you in church. It's always a pleasure, you and your family and your friends. Anything in closing you'd like to say?
Pray for vocations. Pray for us.
Yes, and pray for priests and rabbis and ministers. They need all the prayers they get. Folks, when we come back, we have an author here, okay? A sci-fi author. What is he reading books? What does it mean? How do they get into that genre? We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember 24/7 SSP TV, all of the shows, and something very interesting, folks. If you don't have cable, you should, but you have friends who I know say, Sam, we'd like to see your show, but we don't have cable. They live in an area there isn't cable or satellite. If you have a smart TV, very simple, tell your friends, download YouTube, and then search SSP TV. Subscribe, and you can watch all of the shows. Interesting thing in the country, folks. As you know, more and more people are going to the social media. Well, more and more people are looking at what's happening in local television. All the local shows we produce, keeping in touch with our neighbors and what's going on. That's why we have the local neighborhood programming. And don't forget our app. All the shows are on our app. Just search SSPTV. Dan Synoski was my first guest on the show. He's going into Franciscan friars, and if you could help him, it would be great. Now my guest is Don Marino. Donald is an author and sci-fi author, and he is it's a very interesting book. Donald, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So first of all, thank you for your service. You served in the Army for 4 years in the Gulf War, and we thank you for that.
Thank you.
It's just something that you guys need a lot of our prayers, and that's very nice of you. Tell me about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Central PA, down in Juniata County. More cows than people, and lots of Amish. And like you said, I spent 4 years in the Army after graduating high school, and then through different jobs, I ended up moving up into this area. And this area is really nice. I like this area. I live in Freeland, and I've done a lot of shows. Most of what I've done has been with Nuremberg Community Players, and that's another wonderful organization. So they've helped my creativity keep
Okay, so
going.
creativity, you wrote your very first book in high school. It was like a Hardy Boys, right?
Yes.
So what happened that you start, getting in, that genre? I mean, like, instead of becoming a doctor or a lawyer.
I've always been very creative. I like to be creative, and a funny short story is when I was growing up, I don't remember if you remember this, but there used to be a soap called Another World on NBC. Yeah. One of the characters was Felicia Gallant. She was an author, and I used to watch it when I was younger during the summer, and I used to think, you know what, I want to be like her. She's got an agent, she's writing, she's being creative. I always thought, that's who I want to be like. So I'm heading in that direction. So.
And the book, this is just one, it's called Return of, Sam, put that up, Return of the Shadows, Book 1, okay? It's an interesting book, all right? And I want to have you talk about, what this book is about. But you can get the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble has them, or Google Play, or follow them on Facebook, which is Return of the Shadows. Tell me about, how did you get involved in writing this genre of sci-fi?
Well, you know what?
Is this sci-fi?
It's sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that genre. It's nice. It takes you away from reality for a little while, and you can make yourself to be a hero that you're winning battles. It's just a nice release from reality every once in a while. I loved reading Terry Brooks. He's a great author in this genre, and I've actually read. He has a book out about how he writes, and I read that, so I got some ideas on him, how to develop characters and what he does. Because I had started writing several different books and never really been able to finish until I started this one. And this one just came out very easily for me. It was very
Return
fun
of the
to write.
Shadows. What is this book about?
Well, it's about the balance of good and evil, as you find in most fantasy books. In this book, you have the goddess Hel and the goddess Atlas, who are sister goddesses. The balance has tipped in the favor of goddess Hel, as the humans and the other races have left negativity rule their lives. So the goddess Hel is able to unleash shadows onto the earth, which can possess weak-minded creatures and get them to do what they want. And the goddess Hel's favorite creatures are the trolls, because they're pretty weak-minded. And she sets the troll army after the 4 races: the humans, the elves, the dwarves, and the hawk people. And she's out to destroy the 4 races. And they have to get the goddess Atlas to help them defeat her and restore the balance between good and evil.
Wow. And so how'd you come up with this idea to write this book? You said this book came easy to you.
Yes. Well, one of the things I've read in different books I've read about writing is you should write about things that you're kind of familiar with. It makes it a little easier. And I've studied some pagan stuff, and the goddess Atlas and the goddess Hel are actually Nordic goddesses. They're not sister goddesses. I made them sister goddesses in the book. But and you'll see there's some other pagan influences in there, like the gems they use represent the 4 elements: earth, air, wind, and fire. So those elements I pulled from that, which are make the book, I think, a little bit more interesting and a little different than some of the other fantasy books.
When you're writing a book, sometimes different books I read, I should read a lot more. But sometimes a person says, "Well, I'm not interested in sci-fi. I'm interested in history or real fiction but sci-fi." Okay, why should we be interested in reading a book like this? Because when you send me the book, okay, be very honest with you. I mean, I read Bill O'Reilly's books. I read some more into political thing, but I like a good story. But that's sci-fi. But then I start going through the book, and it took a while before he came on the show. But why an interest in sci-fi?
Like I said, sci-fi is a nice escape, but also in the book, I've had several people point this out to me, that there are some similarities to things that are going on today that I have stuck in the book.
That's what I was going to ask you.
And I did that on purpose, again, because one of the things they say, if you're going to write, you should write about something you're comfortable with and that you know about. And like most people, I do follow the news and keep up with current events and stuff. So it was easy to incorporate that into some of the writing, and it made it interesting, so that more people hopefully will be interested in the book. So
when you're writing this book, you have a vision, right, of what you want to write about, and then when you start writing, you said sometimes people pick up a book and it's say, "Sam, I couldn't put the book down." Okay, you become so involved with it, and I can see if you're reading this book, and the more you start getting into it and just like you said, the escape, it makes you want to continue to read, okay, until you can't wait to pick it up again, okay? I found that. Did you find that with your books?
Yes, and I'm very happy to say that a lot of people who have gotten the first book already and have read it are on me about getting the second book out. They're like, "When is it coming?"
Yeah, so that's great. When will first you got to read the first book, okay, and then you'll understand why you're saying the first. But once it's like going to see a fantasy movie or cartoons or the Three Stooges, or not that I'm putting that in the same, no. But you escape, okay, right. And believe me, I'd like to sit down sometimes and just watch a comedy. When's your second book coming out?
I'm hoping by the end of the year. Right now, I'm working on getting an agent so that I can get into a traditional publisher. So as soon as I can do that.
This looks like a professional published book.
This I used Page Publishing out of New York. It's a self-publishing company.
Very professionally done.
They did a wonderful job. Yeah. But once they're done with it, then the promotion and everything else is left up to me.
I see.
Where if I can get into a traditional publisher, they have all the contacts and they'll set up everything for me, which will give me more exposure. That's kind of what I'm looking for, to get it out there more.
So you're going to have some book signings?
Yes, actually, I'm going to be in Freeland this weekend at the park for their Memorial Day celebration. I'm going to be there both days. And then on the June 9th, I'm going to be at the mall for the Cause Come for a Cause.
Oh, good.
So I'll be at both places.
That's the Laurel Mall now, right?
The Laurel Mall, yeah. Yes.
Now, folks, I play these shows, I'll be playing the show periodically throughout the year, so you'll be probably watching the show a little after these events. But if you're watching now and you have an opportunity of going to see Donald, it's an opportunity for you to get a signed autographed book. So how do you have here, who would you compare your writing to?
Like I said, Terry Brooks is one of my favorite fantasy authors, and he's been on New York Seller's Best Time list, but there's still a lot of people that don't really know him that well. But he is probably, my rating is probably the closest to his. He has the Shinar series out, which MTV had started a series on a couple years ago, and now I understand that I think it's on Netflix now. So my writing's probably closest to his because I've read like everything he's written. I love his writing, and like I said, he has a book out on how he writes, and I've read that and used some of his ideas and incorporated into my writing. So,
you think this could be turned into a movie or a TV movie?
Well, I've had a lot of people read it, tell me yes, they can't wait for the movie to come out. So that would be great. I would be all for that.
That's where you need an agent.
That's where I need an agent to help me push things along. Yeah.
Because what happens is, I guess the best reviews are when people read the book, okay, and what are some of the common questions that you get from people who read the book?
Everybody loves the one character, O. The one lady came up to me and told me, she said, "I want O to be my friend." He's a fun character, a lovable character in the book, and I don't want to say more than that and give things away.
Yeah.
You got to read the book to find out who he is. And some of the other characters, there's a character named Rosemary, who is kind of a thorn in the side a good bit, and I've had a couple of people tell me they really like her. I've had people tell me that they feel like they're there when they're reading it. They feel like they're there and they know these characters. You know,
That's
they can
good.
see them, and that makes me feel
yes,
good.
that's when you have achieved, I think, as a good writer.
Yeah.
I remember telling a story about George Bernard Shaw when he wrote My Fair Lady and had the very first premiere. After the event, they're having these people come. This is the premiere of My Fair Lady. And this lady's pushing her way through the crowd, and there's Mr. Shaw, and he's writing autographs and talking to people. And this lady's pushing her way through the crowd, and she said, "Mr. Shaw, Mr. Shaw." He said, "Yes, ma'am." He says, "I knew exactly what you meant when you wrote this play." He said, "What was that, ma'am?" And she proceeded to tell him what she thought he meant. And he said, "Well, if that's what you got out of my play, that's what I meant." So reading a book like you, A Return of the Shadows, I may read this and get something else. You know, like bells and whistles go off. Do you ever find that happening?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And different people are going to pull different things from the book that they're like, oh, this is what. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, and I look forward to, like you said earlier about following me on Facebook. I look forward to people posting on Facebook what they think of the book and what their favorite parts were and talking about it.
All right, folks, you get the book, Amazon, or it's in Barnes & Noble, Google Play, or Facebook page, Return of the Shadows, Book 1. The author is Don Marino. I wouldn't think I'd be interested in reading this, and I was after that, saying, "Sam, you read the book?" "Yeah, I read it. It's interesting." Don, thanks for coming on the Sam
Thank
Lesante
you for
Show.
having me.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Remember, folks, 24/7 SSP TV. Download us on YouTube. Download YouTube. Search SSP TV. And for those of you who do not have cable anywhere in the world, you can watch all of our local shows. We'll see you next time.